A very good evening and welcome to English News Bulletin here on Rwanda Television. We believe you had a productive day. We'll begin with the headlines. The Rwandan Senate has called for urgent collaboration to address risks faced by families living in high-risk zones ahead of rainy seasons. Monica Gengos, who served as the third First Lady of Namibia from 2015 to 2024, was officially welcomed as the Chancellor of Kepler College. And on the international scene, Myanmar's earthquake epicenter in Beijing remains devastated with collapsed bridges, paralyzed emergency services, and widespread structural damage. My name is Olive Nete, and it's always a great privilege to have you with us for today's edition. And as we begin this edition of the news, let us inform you that this afternoon at Urugwiro village, President Paul Kagame received Major General Ramson Godwin Mwaisaka, outgoing High Commissioner of the United Republic of Tanzania, to Rwanda as he concludes his tour of duty. Moving ahead to more news, the plenary session of the Senate has called for collaboration between the Ministry in charge of emergency management and other institutions to find lasting solutions to the challenges faced by over 90,000 families living in more than 500 locations across the country that could endanger their lives due to rainy season. And Nora Gladys has more on this story.
In a discussion focused on disaster prevention efforts, senators held talks with the Ministry of Emergency Management, where they shared citizens' concerns and recommendations for the government on disaster preparedness.
Anyone who travels to the northern province has likely seen the Kigali-Musanze road, particularly the section near Buranga. That stretch of road is gradually deteriorating, and at this rate, it seems only a matter of time before we hear an announcement that the Kigali-Musanze road is closed due to a landslide. Minefra and RTDA are well aware of this situation, as are all of us. Yet the issue will only be addressed once the road is completely destroyed, even though we rely on it daily. One has to wonder, what is preventing this road from being renovated? To this day, water from the volcanoes continues to erupt into residential areas, destroying citizens' properties, whether in Musanze or in Nyabihu. This remains a major problem. I'd like to request the Minister, in addition to the strategies he has already shared with us, to also provide solutions for managing the water coming from the volcanoes. It often damages people's properties, even in areas where it hasn't rained.
The Ministry of Emergency Management reported that it has identified over 500 locations across the country that are at high risk of being affected by the upcoming rainy season. Without urgent intervention, the lives of more than 90,000 people could be at serious risk. The senators called for strengthened collaboration and the relocation of low-income families.
There are vulnerable low-income people living in high-risk zones. What measures are being taken to help them in the prevention stage, rather than waiting for disasters to occur and responding only afterward?
The Minister of Emergency Management, Major General Retired Albert Murasira, outlined some of the measures the Rwandan government has implemented to mitigate disasters and their consequences.
We have a plan which we have shared to help prevent disasters before they occur, whether they are floods or landslides. Our goal is to ensure that no one dies due to landslides. As part of this plan, we emphasize continuous observation and monitoring.
The western and northern provinces have been identified as the most vulnerable to the heavy rains of the upcoming season. According to the statistics from the Ministry of Emergency Management, mining-related accidents accounted for the highest disaster-related fatalities last year at 20%, followed by the lightning strikes at 14%. Between March 1st and March 31st, 2025, 16 people have already lost their lives due to lightning strikes in different parts of the country. Enra Gladys, RwandaTV News.
Moving ahead to more news, on Wednesday, Monica Gengos, who served as the third First Lady of Namibia from 2015 to 2024, was officially welcomed as the Chancellor of Kepler College, a private university located in Gasabo district. In her address, the newly appointed founding Chancellor encouraged students not to be discouraged by any challenges they may face. And our Gladys once more.
The event was attended by distinguished guests from various sectors, mainly those in education sector, as well as students of Kepler College. Dr. Charles Murigande, the chairman of the Kepler College's Governance Council, officiated the ceremony by handing over the university's symbols of authority to Monica Gengos. He expressed his delight at having a highly intelligent leader at the institution.
I would like to take this opportunity to express our sincere gratitude to the founding Chancellor, Her Excellency Monica Gengos, for accepting to take on this esteemed role at Kepler College. Your wealth of experience and unwavering commitment to education make you an ideal and invaluable leader for our institution. It is with great enthusiasm that the entire Council of Kepler College unanimously endorsed your appointment.
In her speech, Monica Gengos emphasized that education is a powerful tool that shapes a bright future. She cited Rwanda's progress as an exemplary model from which others can learn.
We can reflect on Rwanda's journey from ashes to excellence, which teaches us an important lesson. A people who own their narrative control their destiny. And when His Excellency President Kagame says, quote, "We must do what is right for our country and not what pleases outsiders," end quote, he isn't just speaking policy, he's declaring intellectual sovereignty. And that same sovereignty must define African education. We must do what is right for our continent.
Monica Gengos was married to Hage Geingob, the former president of Namibia, who passed away in 2024. She urged Kepler students to remain dedicated to their studies and to make the best use of their time. The Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Dr. Claudette Irere, highlighted that education is a fundamental pillar of national development.
Institutions like Kepler College are instrumental in realizing this vision by delivering competency-based learning and fostering a strong culture of job readiness. And as we celebrate this important step forward, we're also reminded that higher education must continue to evolve to meet the needs of both learners and the labor market.
The leadership of Kepler College stated that 90% of their graduates secure employment within just 6 months of completing their studies. For students, the appointment of an experienced leader like Monica Gengos is seen as a great opportunity.
That we appreciate her commitment to leadership and to help to empower young women and young leaders in my students. So my students, for now, it's a good visionary person to look on, and also to be empowered by maybe her counsel and her speech, or although what he taught us or what she empowers to do, maybe help lead us to a great improvement.
As the Chancellor of Kepler College, Monica Gengos will oversee graduation ceremonies and the awarding of honorary distinctions, provide strategic advice, preside over convocation ceremonies, and advocate for the institution. Previously, she served as the chairperson of the Organization of African First Ladies. Currently, she's the vice chair of a global council focused on addressing inequality, HIV, and other epidemics. Enra Gladys, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Enera, for the detailed report. Now moving ahead to other matters, the Ministry of Education is reassuring parents of children with autism that it plans to establish a center in each province to support their education. This initiative aims to ensure that children with autism who previously faced challenges in accessing education receive the necessary assistance. Adam Squizera files the report.
Some families of children with autism say that they are capable of doing certain things independently or assisting others, but achieving this requires significant efforts from the government, parents, and teachers.
There is still a challenge into seeing their future. Yes, we are talking about proper education, proper healthcare services, but also there is still a challenge in their transition because they are also they can be able to work in vocational or in industries, because we have also seen it in other countries where they are able and they can work and reach their full potential. If there is a transition, a structured way of a career pathway for them, that can really be great for them and live a great life.
The head of the Education Policy Department at the Ministry of Education, Dr. Rose Waguma, stated that the government has made significant efforts to support the development of people with autism. This includes designing curricula that will help them gain skills and access opportunities in the job market.
It needs concerted efforts in terms of technical support. You've heard what Professor said, in moral but also financial means. That's why I'm saying we have everything in our plans, but we still need to work together to see how we can make sure that we put this into reality.
The exact number of people with autism in Rwanda remains unknown, primarily because many parents do not report their children to the relevant authorities.
Thank you, Adam. So the details now to more news. The upcoming African Congress of Accountants is set to bring together over 2,000 professional accountants in Kigali for a conference scheduled at the beginning of next month. The event will be attended by professional accountants from more than 40 countries. In a press briefing, the Chief Executive Officer of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Rwanda, Amir Miramago, stated that the main objective of this progress is to highlight the contribution of accounting to the economic development of nations.
I hope most of you might have visited our website to get to know what will be discussed, because the program is already out, and we are really excited. Just to give you a brief in terms of the numbers so that you can be able to project yourself. We are targeting to have over 2,000 delegates that will be here from 56 countries. So as we speak, more than 1,100 have already registered. Just in the last 1 week alone, we've had around 188 registered last week. So if you look at the, if you project yourself, if you do a projection for the next 4 weeks, that will be an additional 800. So which will be taking us closer to the 2,000. But when you look at the trend, the more, because most Africans generally are last-minute people, you tend to see a lot of people registering towards the end. So we are not worried that we're not going to get the people, so all the people are going to be there.
Meanwhile, the president of ICPAR, Obadia Biraro, noted that during this Congress they will showcase how ICPAR contributes to investment and economic growth of Rwanda.
Made in Rwanda. Some people may not know that made in Rwanda would be better than made in China. Our expectation from you to you is that you will help promote this made in Rwanda, all the way from the airport up to around Rwanda, as these 2,000 people will be focused here. If you have ever been to Nigeria, Nigerians are very good at promoting Nigeria. And yet, worldwide, people say that out of every 5 Africans, 1 is a Nigerian. So it's a high time you Rwandans, especially the media, start promoting Rwanda in all various aspects of Rwandan society.
Still on local matters, the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences has launched the AIMS Rwanda Incubator to support STEM graduates. William Evans has more on this story.
AIMS in Rwanda Incubator.
The launch, which also featured the final pitch ceremony for the innovation competition program, is, according to organizers, to guide STEM postgraduate minds.
So we thought that, okay, because AIMS is developing this on behalf of the government of Rwanda to advance postgraduate education in STEM, why don't we also use that opportunity now to train the AIMS graduate with the business side, because they don't have that. These are mathematicians. So that they do two things at the same time. They have the expertise that startups are missing, but if they can actually tackle problems from a very scientific perspective, that's another key pillar, which is science-led. Many of the innovators might maybe just get a project, they do the market study, but they might not have time or the skills to validate it from a scientific perspective. We believe that is important for us to ensure that when we're defining the problem, we can validate the methodology that people are going to use to address that. So, yes, in summary, I'm saying we're not reinventing the wheel, we're even complementing what exists to have another space. It's just another space to say we work together, but share our expertise, learn from other startup as well. We're looking forward for them to come and run some of the training here. I say Impact Hub Kigali is our partner. North Kenya is for us a place where people, when they finish the incubator, they need to go there because they're going to open them up to more funding and more investors. So yes, I believe it's important that in Rwanda to have this initiative where we complement each other so that we're not missing anything and you're going to help us even develop the program better, yes.
Some of the Rwandans who participated in the pitching competition, coming second, shared about their innovative idea and what solution it brings on the market.
I'm working on the project of Jirumenyi AI. This is the solution we bring to address the challenge of the overcrowded classrooms here, specifically here in Rwanda, because we have seen that in the classrooms here in Rwanda, the classrooms are overcrowded. The teachers are having a lot of students to manage. The process for this, we thought about the challenge, the common challenge in Rwanda, even in Africa, and then we choose this because we saw that this is the community challenge, so that we can have the solution to this challenge. That's why we came up with Jirumenyi AI. This will work as the tutors to the students, and then the most specifically it will focus on the explaining in the mother tongue of the country. Like it will use like Kinyarwanda terminologies to explain the difficult terminologies to the students, so that it is easy to understand for them.
Mrs. Jennifer Louis, an AI trust and safety expert from UNDP in New York, encouraged Rwandan innovators to find specific solutions to specific challenges.
I think today we recognize that it's about being able to find a problem that is that maybe only you can see, and that also isn't trying to solve the world's problems up front, but trying to solve something that's very specific. The other aspect is that not to wait, I guess, for someone to give you permission to say, like, I see this as a problem. I'm going to interview people who also see this as a problem, and to just start collecting data on it. There are ways of doing this very inexpensively, and I think that it's good to be scrappy. So, I think that one thing that people can do is just to talk to people.
The AIMS EIP will provide participants with the necessary resources, knowledge, and opportunities to use entrepreneurship as a pathway to advancing Pan-African solutions.
Ngiye kubarira rimwe kabiri gatatu itugwamo. So rimwe kabiri gatatu gwamo. One bro.
Kuwa mbere kanda akanyenyeri gatatu kane gatanu akanyenyeri kabiri urwego maze nawe ugwemo.
Ndanezerewe umunezero nsaba umutima ndakora akazi kanjye ndacatinga data ntizishira enda nawe gwamo
wikwisondeka.
Welcome back to Matters Making Headlines Globally. Myanmar's earthquake epicenter in Sejing remains devastated with collapsed bridges, paralyzed emergency services, and widespread structural damage, while some areas miraculously avoided fatalities. Others saw tragic losses, including 9 children killed in a monastery school. We have more with Al Jazeera.
Driving into the epicenter of Myanmar's earthquake, roads lined with rubble, only freshly cleared. Sagang's Inwa Bridge snapped into sections and collapsed. The emergency services were paralyzed by the force of the quake. Miraculously, no one died here, one of the few places that escaped death.
Sagan City is the epicenter of the earthquake, and the intensity was 7.7 on the Richter scale. So the damage was very considerable, and we suffered hundreds of fatalities.
In the grounds of a temple, firemen head up to clear the twisted cables and shattered concrete. The bodies have already been removed.
This was a school run by the monastery. It was in full session when the earthquake hit. By the time the shaking had finished, 9 children were dead inside.
Novice monks starting their spiritual lives. At Sagang General Hospital, conditions are far from ideal. 200 beds and 600 patients in the last 5 days, many still in distress. They lie in the intense heat. 13-year-old Ma A Tenji's foot was so badly smashed it had to be removed.
The important thing is the placement of the patients, because the buildings aren't safe with all the aftershocks. We have to place them outside, but the weather is hot.
This shopkeeper had driven in from the next city along to hand out some food. A chaotic rush forward until some sort of order is restored. But this won't last for long. As survivors rush past, many can't bear to think about the family homes and businesses that now lie in rubble.
There's nothing I can do, so I go to the mosque and volunteer there and just leave the house as it is.
The sections of the bridge rise out of the Irrawaddy River like a serpent, but it'll take a lot more than love before this city rises again. Tony Cheng, Al Jazeera, Sagang, at the center of Myanmar's earthquake.
Annette Hearns is the deputy head of the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs in Myanmar. She told me earlier about the main challenges in providing aid to the people affected by the earthquake.
The first thing is, of course, people have lost their homes. So the first thing is shelter and emergency shelter. It's 45 degrees Celsius on many of those days. This event happened during the holy month of Ramadan and on a Friday. The impact in that regard, many of the religious orders, if it's from within the monasteries, from within the mosques, from within the churches, these groups would usually come together to help and support people, and now they too are part of the affected population. So it's predominantly shelter for the first day. It is incredibly hot, and then people are sleeping outside at night, often in the streets, including many of our own staff who were in those areas. Next to that is access to safe drinking water, sanitation, healthcare, food, all of the components. People need everything.
To other matters, thousands of people displaced by the conflict in Sudan are returning to their homes, and the UN says fighting between the army and the paramilitary rapid support forces forced more than 13 million people from their homes to flee. Some have found their neighborhoods very different from what they left behind before the war. Al Jazeera once more.
With tears and hugs, Fatma Hassan is welcomed back to her home in Sudan's capital, Khartoum. She and her family were forced to leave because of the fighting between the army and the rapid support forces. The paramilitary group controlled the East Nile area for nearly 2 years. But now that the army has regained control of the capital, Fatma has returned.
We left our home during the first days of the conflict because of artillery fire and stray bullets. We stayed away for 10 months, came back, but had to leave again because the children were traumatized, hearing sounds of gunfire and fighter jets overhead. Now that the situation is stable and the army is in control, we hope we can stay and the children can go back to school.
She's one of the hundreds of thousands trickling back to areas the army has retaken in recent months. The conflict, which began in April 2023, forced more than 13 million people to flee, nearly 3 million of them to neighboring countries. Mohammed al-Sadiq is returning to his home in Khartoum North. He'd been looking forward to being in familiar surroundings again, but instead, he's found most of his possessions stolen and what's left burned to ashes.
We left the house because the RSF had checkpoints nearby and harassed us, and we had sick family members. We were told they looted the house, but it's still hard to see it in person. It's uninhabitable. I have to rent somewhere until I can rebuild, and that will take time because the conflict drained all our savings.
Basic infrastructure such as water and electricity networks have been destroyed. Many homes and schools are in ruins, and there's limited access to health care. The damages as a result of battles between the army and the RSF vary from city to city and from district to district here in Khartoum. So while residents may be returning to some parts of the capital, there are other parts that are hard to return to just yet. The army says it's working to clear what it describes as pockets of RSF fighters in Khartoum, one of the 3 cities that make up Sudan's capital. That and closed bridges to the city are slowing the return of people. Fatma says coming home is a chance for her to rebuild her life. She hopes the peace and stability in East Nile lasts so she isn't forced to leave yet again. Hiba Morgan, Al Jazeera, Khartoum.
And this story brings us to the end of tonight's bulletin, but before we leave, a reminder of the top stories that made the edition. The Rwandan Senate has called for urgent collaboration to address risks faced by families living in high-risk zones ahead of rainy season. Monica Gengos, who served as the 3rd First Lady of Namibia from 2015 to 2024, was officially welcomed as the founding Chancellor of Kepler College. On the international scene, Myanmar's earthquake epicenter in Sagaing remains devastated with collapsed bridges, paralyzed emergency services, and widespread structural damage. And that definitely marks the end of today's bulletin. Thank you for joining us for this edition. On behalf of the entire news team, we wish you a productive week ahead. Stay safe and take care.